Hi Stampers, happy Friday. So excited to see you guys this morning. It's Maker Mornings with Meg. I'm Meg, welcome. And it's a little rainy here today on this Friday morning. So I decided that it would be fun to make a really bright card to kind of counteract that gray gloom. And so we're gonna use the Bright Baubles stamp set. So it's right there in the name, Bright. And we are going to use some bright colors for this Christmas card. So the holiday helper is kicking off. I'm starting to do Christmas projects. If you're getting ready for the holidays, it's never too early to get started. So, hey guys, Sue and Kay and Elaine and Trish, Deborah, Tanya, I'm glad you guys are here bright and early on this Friday. So we are going to do a really fun card today. It is a Ombre Embossed Resist card. And I have to tell you, I was inspired by the fabulous Elisa Tilsner, who is an Australian Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I happened to come across a card she did this morning, and her colors were really bright pink and really bright orange. So we are going today with Magenta Madness and Mango Melody for our Christmas card, which are not generally Christmassy kinds of colors, but I really think you're gonna love them. And I'm gonna share a whole bunch of tips with you for heat embossing and just getting really nice, perfect, crisp images. So happy Friday, guys. Hey, Kelly and Rita and Taryn and everybody who just jumped in. All right, so I am going to flip our camera down. I just realized I usually have a nice, clean, crisp piece of grid paper for you, but today is not crisp and cream. We're just gonna kind of reuse it. So you'll get a little sneak preview of what we're working on here. Hey, Margie. All right, let's get you guys settled. There we are. All right, so bringing in our stamp set, like I said, Bright Baubles is going to be our starting point. Oh, this is like the worst day to have a shirt that I can't pull up. I don't know, do you guys like, I like three-quarter sleeve shirts. They're kind of my go-to for, stuff because they're never in the way, right? They're always nice and short. You don't have to keep pushing them up all the time. Anyway, okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start with our fun layer here, and then I'm gonna give you some tips for the layering, which really make the fun layer pop, okay? So they kind of make a difference. As well as a tip for the inside of your card that I think you guys will really like. Sneak peek of our greeting right there. So I have a piece of basic white cardstock here, and I have my big stamps, and I have my Versamark. Now, when we did collage stamping the other day for our Gorgeous Leaves card, remember you always want to start with your bigger image. So try not to gasp in horror. And my Versamark pad, I swear I keep ordering more Versamark pads and then I forget why I've ordered more. And anyway, so yes, your Versamark pad can work even if it looks as trashy as mine does. And you just want to have a re-ink bottle handy. I don't use my Versamark pad all the time, so I find that I re-ink it almost every time. In fact, I'll just do a really quick little re-inking here. This is a really thick ink. So basically I'm gonna go back and forth and you're gonna see that it kind of sits on top. Okay, can you see that little stuff sitting there? And then I'm just gonna use the tip and I'm just gonna work it in. Now you wanna be really careful not to pull too hard because you don't wanna unseat your pad from the case, okay? So just make sure that that's all pressed in a little bit. So when you order a Versamark pad, I would just get a re-inker with it because you're gonna need it. And then you always have it, you're never lacking. Now, I also like when I'm using a stamp this big to make sure that I stamp upside down and I'm just really gentle. So what I'm doing is I'm watching to make sure that I get a nice shine on my stamp image without a shine around the edges here, okay? And if I did get a shine around the edges, then I would use my chamois to kind of wipe that off. And I'm gonna go ahead and stamp this one kind of up here towards the upper right, okay, which will look invisible to you guys. I don't know if you can kind of see that or not. I promise I am gonna stamp a little bit with these with colored ink, so you'll get to see the gorgeous images. And the best part of this is the reveal of the resist. So, all right, now if you're actually at home trying to figure out where you've stamped, usually you can kind of scoot your head around so that you can see what you've already done. And again, you don't want to overstamp these because any place, oh, I guess my stamp wasn't super clean. That's all right. Any place that you have Versamark Edges Touch, you're gonna end up with a smudge of embossing powder. So we're gonna try to avoid that. And I think that that is all I get for these little stars. And then I think I'm gonna add the little bow too. So there are some really fun pieces on here. And the dies actually match beautifully. So you could, if you wanted to just I can't remember whether I put the ornament top on there or not. I did, it goes here. There we go. Anyway, if you wanted to add the dies to this set, you certainly can, but we're just gonna do simple stamping today, just ink and paper. And I need one more thing stamped. I'm gonna use our Marion Bright, and instead of putting it on a piece of, just directly on our card background, I'm going to go ahead and stamp it here on a piece of the Magenta Madness cardstock. Now, there are 3 steps to heat embossing. The first is to stamp with a sticky ink. Versamark is the best. The second is to add the powder, and the powders come in basics embossing powder, so you'll always have what you need, black and white and, okay, can't remember, there's one more in there. You will feel like you're using a ton of powder. You're just gonna cover your whole paper. Oh, what the heck, I'll just dump the jar on there. And then, so first step, sticky ink, second step, powder. You're gonna tap off the powder. Now, a tip for you on your heat embossing. You want to handle this paper as little as possible before you stamp and put your powder on, because the oils on your fingers will make smudges and you can end up with little smudgy fingerprints, okay? So you want to handle your paper as little as possible. You want to make sure that you got powder on all the spots and there are no stray edges. Sometimes if you catch an edge on a stamp, which I might have there, you can use your finger or a little brush to wipe away that powder. But now you can kind of see probably where that powder's sticking. What about all this extra? Not to panic, that's just going right back in the jar. So what I would do here is tip this up and then put it back together and just use that to dump right back in the jar. Now, I'm gonna, there we go. Set this aside. My paper still has a little powder on it, which I'm not gonna worry about at the moment because I really don't want it on our scrap paper here. Although I guess that one's cleaner than this one. Anyway, you can dump the rest of that in, but you wanna keep the powder away from what you're working on. Now, you don't have to freak out that we're taking too long to do our heat embossing here. How many of you guys are heat embossing fans? Has anybody done heat embossing before? I'm gonna guess that you guys have. I know you're all stampers. But if you're new, you don't have to worry because it is going to, the Versamark ink stays sticky for a fairly long time, so it's not like you're gonna lose the sticky factor. And I'm gonna go ahead and hold this one so you can kind of see this process. And I've got my heat tool, here it is. I'm hoping that the camera filters out that background noise of the heat tool. Is it pretty clean, or is the noise kind of annoying? Anyway, you can see I'm just pointing this at my powder and kind of moving it along until I see the powder melt. And if you've never heat embossed before, you might try it first on a dark color cardstock because you can see really well. Sorry, would you like it right side up? You can see really well when the powder melts. It's a little trickier on white, but the same principles apply. What I do is I kind of hold my paper at an angle. You'll notice that I am not setting my paper down flat on my Formica countertop. If you heat emboss, this is a lot hotter than a hair dryer. You would scald yourself instantly if you tried to dry your hair with this. So you cannot heat emboss. You can't melt the powder with a hair dryer. It's maybe a little bit less robust in heat than a commercial paint stripper, but not too far off from that. So we're talking hot here. You want to keep your fingers out of the way. So what I like to do is I like to think about the hot air and where it's blowing and make sure that it's not blowing towards my, not blowing towards my hand. I'm always blowing away from my hand so that I don't scald my fingers. And there's nothing that says your paper has to be flat. You can always make it at an angle like this, which really helps to keep the heat away from your hands also. Kim says, She hasn't done a lot of heat embossing lately, but you need to make a birthday card. Oh, that's fun. The leaves would be really pretty heat embossed. And heat embossing is one of those things that, I mean, I remember the first time I stamped, I think I was in elementary school, I was like 8 or 9. Heat embossing was the thing that brought me to stamping. So it is really impressive. And we all have stories about how we used to heat emboss with a candle or a toaster or something crazy, but a heat tool is really pretty awesome. And it comes in handy for other things too. I just used mine recently to make my daughter's Halloween costume, which I will have to show you sooner or later. It's pretty awesome. But I used it to mold the EVA foam, thermoplastic foam for a sort of chest plate of armor kind of thing. So it's really awesome and super handy. Okay, so it feels like I'm doing this for a long time, but you really want to make sure that all your powder is melted. It should all look shiny to you. And then once it is, all melted, what you want to do, oh, there's a spot right there that I can see that I missed. If it looks rough, it's because you missed melting that spot. There we go. Now, when you're done, when you think you're done, what I recommend doing is taking your finger and rubbing your finger just gently right across the top. If your finger grabs anywhere, that powder is not completely melted. Completely melted powder will not grab your finger. It will be totally done with its melting process and it firms up right away again, okay? So if you, like I said, when you run your finger across there, oh man, you want to make sure that there is no grab whatsoever. Apparently while I'm talking, I was not doing a good job of keeping my heat embossing forward thinking here, moving in the same direction. All right, I promise this is worth it though, because it is going to be super gorgeous when we do the resist. All right, did I get it all now? Okay, I'm like tentative here. Yeah, so now when I run my finger across there, there's no grab whatsoever, which means my powder is all melted. So you are safe, okay? All right, so ready to add some color? Let's see. Jenny says she struggles she loves the look of heat embossing, but she struggles with it. So Jenny, I don't know if any of those tips will help you, but make sure your Versamark pad is really inked so you get really complete images. Make sure that you keep your finger off your paper for smudgy avoidance. You don't want extra ink smudges on there or oil smudges. Your nose is especially oily. If you touch your face and then touch your paper, it'll leave a powder spot. And then make sure you're 100% heat embossed. There should be no grab whatsoever and no graininess either. Okay, so now bring on the color. So I have my 2 colors here. We're gonna do Magenta Madness and Mango Melody. And I have my blending brushes. And this is my favorite part. So I'm gonna go ahead, to pick up ink, you're gonna do a swirl there, and you're going to go ahead and swirl onto your card. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave we're gonna leave an area around the edge where we're going to let our mango kind of be our, sort of our vintage embossed look of the, old-timey photos where they have that, that sort of smoky edge to them. We're gonna do that, but we're gonna make our smoky edge orange. So I'm gonna leave some space around the edge and I'm gonna keep going. Now you'll see where there are some darker, super saturated colors here and here, you can see them, and some lighter ones. I want everything to be super saturated. So all you have to do is just keep picking up ink and applying it always in circles. Pick up in circles, apply in circles. Blending brushes are just fabulous. Pick up in circles, blend in circles, and know that if you're feeling like no more ink is going on there, you really have to reapply ink every, swirl, swirl, swirl. I don't know. You can figure out how long I swirl for. So some of the swirling is to put the ink on, to apply it, and some of it is to sort of burnish the ink into the paper. Okay, all right, so we've got our pink on there, and let's see, Tanya says, yes, heat embossing. So that should be our weekend challenge, heat embossing. So get your heat embossing stuff out and get going on that. Now for our Mango Melody, I'm gonna start off the edge and go onto our card, which is gonna end up with our darkest of the Mango Melody right along the edges. And then it's going to tail off as it gets into the Magenta Madness. Now, I'm right-handed, so I'm gonna turn this way because it's so much easier to do just right-handed rather than trying to like kind of go from the back side. And you can see that my mango pad is super nicely inked, so it's given off a great amount of ink for this process. Okay. And we're gonna finish up the edges, and you see how those white lines are gorgeous and crisp, and this is a beautiful stamp set for heat embossing. All right, let's see, I think there's some little variation in tone there. And then I'm gonna go back one more time and add just a little more pink out there into the orange so that we get a nice blend between the magenta, a nice ombre blend between the magenta and the Mango Melody. Okay. All right. There we go. Looks like sunsets, right? This is like the sunset Christmas card. I just love non-traditional Christmas cards. Purple is always a good one. Lots of good possibilities. Definitely this qualifies. Okay. All right. So if you have inky fingers, remember to grab your chamois and just clean them off there. Just drop those. Tanya says she wouldn't think of these two colors. Oh my gosh, pink and orange are they make me happy. All right, so we're gonna mount this, and I'm gonna give you some more tips for stamping on the inside and for setting off this ombre. So we're gonna mount this here on a piece of Magenta Madness cardstock. Use your bone folder. And it goes like this, and it's kind of pretty. It's still very pretty, but we're gonna make it stand out, and you guys know how we're gonna do that. We are going to add a layer that is just a teeny smidge bigger, and look at how that jumps off the page compared to without and with, right? We're talking about a serious bonus here because that white just really highlights the lines on the white heat embossed image. So, oh, I forgot, okay. Well, okay, before I stick this down, because I don't want to get the pink on there, what I'm gonna do, okay, shouldn't have put glue on it yet, so this will be fun. But I'm gonna take my Stampin' Chamois. I forgot, I want to take off any extra ink that is on the resist. And, okay, here goes doing this in the middle of nowhere. You can see how little pressure you need. But a Stampin' Chamois, can you see how that's really like picking up the ink? A Stampin' Chamois is like an ink magnet, and it does a beautiful job at picking up the stray ink that is on our white embossed lines. Okay, see how that worked? So if you put your adhesive on first, you can still recover, but much easier to do it first. But your Stampin' Chamois, you could use a tissue or something too. But the nice thing about a Stampin' Chamois is that it's gonna trap the ink. And so you get it trapped instead of just mushing it around like a tissue would do. So actually I'm gonna take this now and just do a little more. Now my chamois is really dry, not stiff dry, but definitely not sopping wet, okay? So you wanna avoid adding water to your paper is basically the idea. All right, so this is gonna go on here, and then we are going to add some Stampin' Dimensionals. And people are saying in the comments that the white really makes a difference. Yes, it does, a huge one. So we're actually gonna use that trick again for our greeting. I'm gonna show you how that works. Let's see, so we're gonna pop this on here. And then we have our Merry and Bright, which I've already got one trimmed here. So I'm gonna trim it just a little bit more. It would help if that was straight. And there we go. Now we can put this on like this, certainly, but I just said we use that white trick, that white strip trick. So what if we also put a white strip under here? And that is really going to help that greeting pop too. So let's go ahead and I could put this on with glue, but I think I'm gonna cheat and hold it in place, flip it to the back side, and use Stampin' Dimensionals. Let's see, yep. Then you don't have to worry about fussing with glue on a really narrow paper. There we go. And I might put one more in the middle now that it's really stuck down. And I'm gonna try not to throw that in my ink pad. I'm gonna trim this so it's pretty tight on both sides. There we go. Okay, now our greeting is gonna go on here. We need some bling for the front and some more stamping to go with this card. So on the inside, and there is our greeting, all right? So bling, I was flipping through my bling and it occurred to me that if you wanted to use stars, the stars from the cute Halloween suite would be super fabulous, these little orange ones. So you could use the orange stars, or it's hard to go wrong with the Artistry Blooms adhesive back sequins. So these artistic, I don't remember. The link is in the video description for the supplies. But there are dark pink sequins and dark orange sequins, some light blue sequins and some light orange. And I think we're going all out with this blingy bright card. So I'm gonna use the dark pink sequins and I'm gonna pop a couple on here. And let's see, one small one too. I'll put it up here. So remember, we're kind of doing our triangle thing. So we have our 1, 2, 3 triangle. And I could have put this one right here, but I moved it over here because I didn't want it to line up specifically, okay? All right, so there's the front of our card, but what about this inside, which clearly needs something extra? So I'm gonna bring back my piece of basic white cardstock. I am going to use my same stamp here, and I'm going to ink this up in Magenta Madness. And this time I'm going to stamp it here on the card that's gonna go on the inside. And you can see how beautiful these images are. This is an absolutely gorgeous stamp set. And I didn't even show you the other part of it because we're not using this today, but the stamps are gorgeous and there are dies to cut them out. So this is the die that would cut this out. So you can have die cut ornaments. I can picture so many cute things with these. You can make little boxes, all kinds of stuff. But then there are also, I think it doesn't show off very well here. Let me find it in the catalog for you. The super amazing dies that have the detail, and they are, let's see, page 40. Here are some, oh, I guess they're not really shown, man. Okay, well, I don't think this shows them off to their most amazingness. This is a heat embossed image. Here is a die cut one in the background. I should have die cut one for you, but like this is the snowflake die. And then there are also dies that say Merry and Bright, they say Joy, and then here's the shape one. So lots of amazing possibilities for these, just waiting to be made. So I'm sure I'll pull them out again. So I wanted an inside greeting to go with this though. And my go-to inside greetings, I said this once in another video already. This year, it's gonna be Christmas to remember. I love this card. For Unto Us is great if you want more religious greetings. This one is more sort of mainstream secular. So lots of possibilities for the different cards you're sending. But I love this one. It has a friends one for Christmas. Love and joy come to you. And may last the whole year through. You can sing along right there. But I'm gonna go ahead and use this love and joy greeting here. And I always practice on my grid paper to make sure that my stamp is gonna be straight, which it is. And then I don't have to worry so much about, messing up my real paper by having a crooked greeting. And we could put this inside here like this. All right, but I'm sure you guys know what I'm gonna say. If we add to this, we can make it really pop. So I'm gonna bring back that mango from the front to put inside our card. Ta-da! Isn't that like just, oh my goodness. It's beautiful. All right, so use those same tricks when you are doing colors. Use a contrast layer, so black or white, depending on what you're doing. Use a contrast layer that reintroduces a color from your main card, like we did here with the Mango Melody. Think about your heat embossing as one of those colors. So if you heat emboss in black, think about using black as your repeat contrast color. for something inside your card or on the front layer or whatnot. But yeah, lots of great possibilities for this kind of heat embossed look. So I could totally see a card like this where you did like black and white and pink. You could heat emboss with black and get those gorgeous lines, and then have black and pink or something like that. Or you could go with traditional. You could heat emboss in white and do red and green on the front, or like a blue and a lighter, a navy and a balmy blue. I was actually thinking too, tonight is senior night for marching band and football and cheerleading. And so I was actually thinking you could do Christmas cards to match your school colors. So instead of that, I would have used maybe Pacific Point with Mango Melody instead of the pink here. So we have orange and blue for our school colors. So. All right, Trish says, love the non-traditional, yay. I'm so glad. Like I said, I'm really a fan of non-traditional Christmas card colors. Sue says she likes the white embossed outline. Elaine says the dies are great too. The dies are amazing. So actually one thing you might consider doing would be to add the little bow here to hang each one of these. Instead of heat embossing, you could die cut this little element and pop it on there to hang each one of your cards. But this is a great simple stamping, stamps, ink, and paper kind of card with lots of good possibilities. And that heat embossing is a really great trick to pull out of your toolbox. I know a lot of us have done heat embossing for years, but I saw several comments from people who said that they haven't heat embossed for a while and it might be time to pull it out. So that's your weekend challenge, is to pull out and do some heat embossing. And I would love to see your cards. So there is the Loven Stamps Create community is available, and I will post a link on there on the video description if you want to join that, if you haven't already. And it would be really fun to see your heat embossing cards this weekend. So, all right, Sue asked a question, how can you find these again? This again, Sue? You want to make sure you like my page either on Facebook or on YouTube, and you can always find this. And then a lot of the time I take these videos and I post them again as blog posts, because my blog at LovenStamps.com is the easiest to search to find updates. So you can go to LovenStamps.com, look at my blog, and that's a great place to find the video library too. All right, more questions. Tanya says she's inspired for the weekend. Yay! Yes, so all kinds of fun stamp sets to do with this card for sure. It doesn't have to be this one. And yeah. All right, guys. Well, I will look forward to seeing you again on Monday for another project. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope it includes lots of heat embossing, and I'll let you know how senior night goes. Cross your fingers for no R-A-I-N. We'll see how it happens. So, all right, guys, have a fabulous day. Happy stamping, and I will see you on Monday.